The wind howled like a living thing that night, carrying with it sheets of snow that blurred the line between the earth and sky. In the tiny Montana town of Clearwater, winter storms weren't unusual, but this one was different. The power had been out for hours, the roads buried, and the world beyond the front porch of Ethan Miles' small cabin was swallowed in white silence. Ethan was no stranger to storms, both the kind that raged outside and the ones that tore through a man's life. 2 years ago, his wife's sudden passing had left him alone to raise their 8-year-old daughter, Sophie. Since then, every day had been a careful balance of odd jobs, school drop-offs, and bedtime stories, anything to keep Sophie's world safe and warm. That night, as Sophie colored by candlelight, Ethan heard it, a faint knock at the door. It was nearly midnight. Nobody in their right mind would be out in weather like this. He hesitated, his hand on the doorknob, before pulling it open. A woman stood there, bundled in a soaked wool coat, her hair matted with snow, her lips pale from the cold. She looked completely lost, her eyes darting past him toward the faint glow of their fire. "My car," she began, her voice shaking. "It slid off the road. I've been walking for over an hour." Without a second thought, Ethan stepped aside. "Come in. You're freezing." She moved cautiously, as though unused to such invitations. He gave her a blanket, set her near the fire, and poured her a mug of cocoa Sophie had just finished making. "Thanks," the woman whispered, wrapping her fingers around the mug like it was the last warm thing on earth. They didn't exchange last names. Ethan didn't ask where she was headed. To him, she was simply a person in need, and that was reason enough. Over the next hours, while the storm raged on, they talked in pieces. She asked about Sophie's drawings taped to the wall. Sophie told her about how Daddy always makes pancakes in funny shapes, dinosaurs, cats, even a lopsided snowman. The woman laughed quietly, and for a moment, her guarded demeanor slipped. At dawn, the snow had piled high against the cabin, but the worst had passed. Ethan grabbed a shovel to clear a path while Sophie insisted on making breakfast for their guest. It wasn't until the county plow came through that afternoon that the stranger stood, pulling on her coat. She looked at Ethan for a long moment, as if searching for the right words. "You didn't ask for anything. You didn't even want to know who I am." Ethan smiled faintly. "Didn't matter. You needed help. That's all I needed to know." Her eyes softened, just for a second, before she slipped a small card into his hand. "If you ever need anything, call me." He didn't look at it until the door closed. The name printed in gold letters made his brow furrow, Alexandra Vail, founder and CEO of Vail Global Industries. He didn't know much about billionaires, but he knew this was the name of one of the richest and most powerful women in America. Weeks passed, and Ethan filed the card away, certain he'd never use it. But life had a way of testing him. When Sophie's school announced an emergency fundraising drive to repair its heating system, or risk closing for the winter, Ethan knew he couldn't stand by. He called the number. Alexandra remembered him instantly. "I'll handle it," she said simply. 2 days later, a donation appeared, anonymous, but so large it didn't just repair the heating, it funded new books, winter coats for every child, and hot lunches for years to come. When the school tried to name a wing after her, Alexandra refused. She told them it wasn't about recognition. The only thing she asked? That Sophie keep drawing those silly snowmen and cats, because kindness, she said, should always leave a trace of joy. Ethan never forgot that night. Not because he'd unknowingly sheltered a billionaire, but because it reminded him that compassion doesn't measure worth in dollars, it measures it in warmth given when the world is cold. And somewhere in her skyscraper office, Alexandra Vail kept a small crayon drawing of a lopsided snowman taped to her desk, a quiet reminder that even the most powerful people sometimes need saving, too.